we went back to Turfloop. That's when students hired all those buses. Now they were frustrated. Hired buses, Kumbi, so many cars, took over Medusa. I remember they went to occupy Medusa. They flooded the whole of central Pretoria, surrounded that building. it was mayhem, real chaos. That was the response to Old Man's retort. And yet, when the chaos, you know, reached that limit, he called us. He called us. He called the Vice Chancellor, myself, John Malachi, and the 10 people who went there. Called the Minister of Education, plus his DG, Dr. Lowe. Who was that? Minister of Education, man, for bad education, Master who? He's still in the Gauteng Nationalist Party. Also a Muruti by upbringing, by training. So we go to the Craddock room at the Carlton, and the Craddock room. So he calls me, and all of us says, this is my meeting, not yours. Which means that only 2 people will speak here, the minister and myself. You shut up, all of you. If you have anything to say, just write a note and hand it over to me. I speak, you hear, you shut up. I never attended a meeting in my life. So we started. Oh, he went for the minister. He surprised us. He became more radical than ourselves. He says, you see these guys here, they are the opinion makers up north there. If you want to survive as a politician, listen to what I say. Because they are the ones who are going to vote you in or vote you out. We were so shocked. Dr. Lowe said, then TG. He says, but Mr. President, the act doesn't allow, you can't just dissolve this council. The investors can't get funded without a council. He says, he posed him like this, that you crawl out of that apartheid fence. That's what I told him. When you made those laws, I was not there. I was in prison. I'm not going to recognize them here now. We are dissolving this council now. That's how it was dissolved. And then he says, you know what? Before we went there, we got in touch with George Bezos. That was the famous Bezos opinion at Teflon. So a certain time, he got in touch with Bezos. So we said, Bezos says, a highly intelligent answer. He says, as long as the ex-official members of council are in place, which means the vice chancellor and his deputies, we have a council. We only have empty vacancies, but there's a council because the 3 people are there who are permanent members of staff. We count the other slots as vacancies to be filled later. That's how we got rid of them. That's how when Professor Mawasha came back to campus, they resigned, all of them, Professor Pretorius and all of them. You see, that's how that council was dissolved. And for some time, there were only 3 of us, members of council, making all the decisions. I never had such power. Yeah. So those were those. So I think I think that was successful. We made a lot of mistakes. One mistake that perhaps we made, perhaps the moment didn't allow it. We didn't take enough time to bring more people on board. We didn't take seriously the issue of political education. We were preaching to the church of progressives, people we already agreed with, the people in the alliance, in the liberation movement. We didn't bother about the reactionaries, you know. We said, to hell with them, you know. I think long term, that was a mistake. Perhaps some of the problems that you have now, if any, may start there, that the old guard were never taken on board. We never went out as serious politicians now, work out a strategy, just as Mandela is doing at the national level, where he makes it impossible for them to do that. You see what I mean? We should have been that far-sighted, but we were, you know, immature, I think, in that sense. I think in retrospect, I would have dealt with that question slightly bit differently. I would have been patient to go to Senate and explain, and I've tried to plead with them to attend BTC meetings and slowly move them into more difficult levels of discourse. But I know it's tough, but I think we were very dismissive in the early 90s. But I think also there was excitement of freedom, and we wanted to, you know, and Mandela had just been released. So perhaps it was not easy for us to think so carefully. Right? That is a mistake that we, in building alliances, we didn't take this seriously. Yeah. And we're also, you know, like comrades, holier than thou. we were the, you know, an avant-garde, you know, the vanguard of the movement. You know, and we're so vanguard that this young fellow, when we installed Mandela as a chancellor, this young fellow who died in a car accident, Mike Koyana, you know, told at the stadium that, you know, the Free Mandela campaign started here at Teflon. We freed you from Robben Island. Yeah, so there's a lot of excitement then, but I think now, in retrospect, you know, I think we could have done better. I think there, perhaps, you know, in trying to solve a problem, we created a problem because we should have accepted that the reactionary forces were there to stay. That the curriculum could not be transformed without these professors and these academics that we despise politically. See, I think that's where, if I may try to preach, I think you must be very careful how you handle particular academics. Because at the end of the day, the transformation of the curriculum depends on them. So you have to try hard to transform them. Because if you don't, you can have a great vice chancellor, you can have a great council, you can have a great student body, and I'm sure you have all this. But because these guys must be transformed. And you must find a very sophisticated manner of doing so. Otherwise, you'll have a transformed council with a primitive curriculum. And you may find it may take longer to change that. More so at TEFLOP, where if you look very carefully, I don't know now, TEFLOP is one of the biggest staff in the country. Most departments already have senior people who are in their 40s, who won't retire in the next 20 years. You see, if you look at the staffing profile at TEFLOP, they are senior people, they are senior lecturers, they are professors, and they are not about to retire. So they are going to be there for the next 20 years. And you're going to find a way of transforming them. So to me, that's the difficult. In other campuses where you find very few senior people, you can still make new appointments. At TEFLOP, you won't be, there's very little space for many new appointments. I think that will be the problem. Perhaps things have changed now.
Okay.
Okay.
Prof, I'm coming in still on the question of the BTC. How was it structured when you started, and how were you functioning?
Yeah. Oh, the BTC, There was a big debate about the structure. We we decided that only the structures that had a track record in transformation should be members. You must come to us and say, me as a member of SCM or SUKA, look at what we've done in the last 3-4 years. We're involved in transformation. You must present a CV, a good CV on transformation for you to. So we decided to do that. So it was so Stalinist. It looked like the Bolshevik, the very professional cadre, you know. You you got to have a track record. So we eliminated, initially Senate. Remember, Senate. We didn't want Senate because it had no record at all, except in counter transformation. So we thought. So that was what happened. So we then selected ourselves to be a transformation. We had myself as a chairperson. Then we had John Seve as a secretary. Yeah. And then we had a legal task team. We had a number of task teams, legal task team to rewrite the act. We had Seth Ntai as the chairperson there with Don Kadimeng, they were there. So the number of even I still have I'm sure you have documents about the first meeting we had there. Yeah. So that. There was also a problem with who to chair BTC. There was a group that said that the vice chancellor should do it. There was a group that said if the vice chancellor do it, then you're part of the establishment. You see, all those little things. So we decided to say that although management may be a member, the vice chancellor should not, because it links up BTC with the establishment also. Little things like that. So it was structured like that. Then we then went to Kwakwa. I remember I went to Kwakwa with members of BTC, Sibeko, you remember, Masala, all these guys, the former Marxists, and other people. Then we got to Kwakwa, constituted a subcommittee of BTC in Kwakwa, which is the same kind of formation. But then it became very big. I think there were 3 members from each structure. One time we met at the place we used to meet?
R40.
Yeah, R40, the famous R40. That R40 was full. Members of the BTC, it was full. and became very, very unwieldy. Then we started agonizing on how to involve Senate. That took a long discussion for a long time. Finally, I think Senate got admitted because of the curricular needs of transformation. But the language in BTC was so radical that they attended one meeting and never came back. Yeah, so I think that's how it was structured. So we went for what we regarded as authentic, structures in struggle politics, which was UDUSA then, it was NEHAWU, it was SASCO, it was PASO, it was SUKA, it was SCM, quite a number of the student organizations. It was the admin staff, We had those formations there, but we left out Senate initially. It was included much later. Yeah.